Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militia Man and Crew. Just want to say we've been seeing some really good news for the last few days. Super Samson has been just knocking it out of the park. She does on a regular basis. I think she works really hard, and I thank her for that. And I want to thank my admins and team members for all their support, because this place keeps everybody informed, and we get a lot of good comments in our rooms, whether it's Patreon, Discord, and even our YouTube. So thank you all. This article is called A Saudi-American Alliances to Establish the World's Largest Critical Minerals Center with Investments of $9 billion. I find this interesting because they're talking about minerals, and they're going to invest $9 billion in creating the largest city in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And their investment value is about $9 billion. That's a lot of money in the mining industry. Trust me on that. It says Saudi-U.S. alliance aims to transform the kingdom into an international player in mining, industry, and innovation. It also underscores the convergence of two countries, their sovereign ambitions, their industrial innovation, and reshaping global supply chains. We've had problems with global supply chains since COVID, and hopefully they're going to try to fix that. I think the Development Road project is going to help with that. It represents a strategic turning point for the kingdom to build an ecosystem aligned with the country's industrial sovereignty. Just like Iraq, they're trying to get non-oil resources, revenue streams, and so is the kingdom. It says that this alliance will contribute to consolidating and strengthening the kingdom's position as a central force in the global critical minerals economy. The partnership includes funding the development of global integrated mining and processing platform and establishing the first of its kind minerals innovation center to enable advanced mining and processing operations and support emerging mining technologies dedicated to providing critical minerals to international markets. I'm not really sure what they're talking about, but my guess is, well, when they talk about critical is what I meant by that. Rare earths are probably a critical mineral, and Iraq has about $16 trillion worth of those minerals, aside from their phosphates, their sulfur, their iron, their list goes on, and their new revenue streams through taxation, the Escada system they have being put and finalized in the country to get those revenue streams. They have a massive amount, and so that's the collective. But anyway, another article here is just in brief, it came out today, which was Iraq concluded the statement of the 2025 IMF Article 4 mission today, the May 15th, 2025. Okay, a couple of snippets. I like to do snippets when I bring in my data to support my work. I do that. And then in this case, two things. The mission commended the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq, for the successful transition to the new trade finance system. That should be a big flag, because we've been talking about a new financial system. It says trade finance is now fully processed by commercial banks through their correspondent banks and their banking relationships. This has also supported the recent decline in the spread between the official and the parallel market exchange rates. Well, we all know the official is legal, the parallel is not, but because of what they've been doing in transitioning to the trade financial system, it's putting the pressure on those and that illegal market. It says, nonetheless, further efforts are needed to further reduce the spread by including imposing Iraqi dinar. Okay, so they're going to use the dinar for bigger purchases, cars, real estate transactions. It says, and also improving customs controls to curb smuggling and simplifying Forex access. Forex access, that's fascinating. So we'll have to see what the IMF and Iraq has in store for us. I have a feeling that Iraq and the IMF have had some good collaboration on the Forex. Okay, the next thing is that while initial steps to reform the state-owned banks they're talking about what I've been telling you, is that one of the last things before a revaluation is what they're kind of talking about. They don't say it, but if you've studied this long enough, as I have, I believe that I'm on the right path. And I hope you guys have followed me long enough to know that we have talked about it. It says the restructuring plan for state-owned banks should be finalized without delay. So in other words, there's a push to get it done. Encompassing treatment of non-performing loans and recapitalization needs in parallel. The mission welcomed progress in digitalization. We've seen all that. And the authorities' intention is to undertake a comprehensive banking sector overhaul. Well, we've already seen that pretty much happen. Okay. It says reforms should include enhancing corporate governance. We've seen that. Digital infrastructure. We've seen that. And cybersecurity, while promoting a stronger role for private banks. Well, they already told you about the correspondent banks. So anyway, they're looking at, doing measures with that, enhance their anti-money laundering laws and just tackling deficiencies and stuff. The IMF's report is basically, to me, is somewhat generic, but they're very impactful points that they talk about. But anyway, that was concluded today, and it fits with some of the things that we've been witnessing. So hopefully that's good information for you. Here's an article. It's called Towards Global Transformation. And who are we talking about? Well, we're talking about one of the state banks. It says Raffidain Bank begins updating its legal framework. So they're getting prepared, or they have been prepared, to take action and to create an environment that is, if they've contracted with legal advice, then they're going to have guidance as they move forward. That's how I look at it. It says, a statement says by the bank, it says the decision comes within the framework of a clear vision adopted by the bank to raise the level of legal governance and enhance its institutional readiness as a part of a well-thought-out professional path towards internationalization and transformation into a modern banking institution characterized by efficiency, compliance, and transparency. Well, the IMF just talked about a new financial system. Okay. Raffidain Bank affirmed this step represents a strategic turning point in its journey as it paves the way for expanding the bank's international dealings and enhancing confidence in its operational capabilities on the regional and global arenas. It also aims to create a legal and operational environment characterized by credibility and discipline, thus opening the door wide to attracting foreign investments and establishing strategic banking partnerships with major international financial institutions. They go on and say Raffidain Bank's openness to global expertise and its adoption of an institutional modernization approach in accordance with approved best practices. Basically, what does it do? It reflects its insistence on consolidating its position as a leading bank, not only at the Iraq level, but also at the regional level and the international financial level. So that's another really good article that's come out. There's a bunch, you guys. I've been busy. I've had to weed out plenty of stuff that we've gone over. The data that we bring into patreon.com with Militia Man and crew, and then our Discord chat room has just a plethora of information. So if you really want to know what you own, we have a good place for you to get started if you're just here now or just getting started. But for those of you that have been around for the last couple years, probably understand what I just said very well. And thank you for being with me and supportive. It really does help keep these articles coming. Raffidain Bank, they're talking about starts contracting procedures with the British law firm. And so now they just tell us who it is. Hogan Lovells is specialized in international legal affairs. And basically their efforts and their part is going to be to modernize its legal structure and enhance its compliance with international banking standards. Basically what it's going to do, they believe that being that they have this openness to do the international legal and get legal expertise It says it reflects the commitment to the institutional modernizational approach and its orientation towards an operational environment characterized by credibility. Credibility is a big thing with big banks. And discipline, which enhances investor confidence and opens the way for strategic partnerships with international financial institutions. So it's amazing how they keep focusing in on international. And I believe here at the very end of the article, it says it contributes to supporting efforts to attract even more foreign investments and expand those international transactions. So we have dollar transfers from Iraq. JP Morgan awards the Trade Bank of Iraq. And basically, this is the second time it's come out, but they've gotten to a little more in depth in this particular article because I mentioned it yesterday. And basically, what this is, it says the STP excellence in payments and transfers. So this is about payments and transfers. So they've done a really good job, which is cross-border payments, and I believe it's going to be noted that it's going to be in the euro and the dollar, of course. But they had to practice somewhere before they start using the dinar, so they've had success in taking care of that. It says, according to the SWIFT, an MT-103 is a standard SWIFT message used for single customer credit transfers. So they're using, I think, in this particular case, maybe the older system, but we'll find out. So this message type is commonly used for cross-border payments, and I have a feeling that they're going to have probably a newer system, or they're just going to keep it the same, but they're going to use new technology to drive it and make it work. He goes on and says the TBI's success places it among a limited number of global banks achieving this level of excellence. So it's a little bit bigger than some people think, but that's okay. But the bottom line is that the Trade Bank of Iraq is going to be doing cross-border payments for international trade. And they have an excellent rating. That's fascinating, so especially at this time. The next article is called Iraq Welcomes Trump's Visit to Saudi Arabia and Considers the Riyadh and Baghdad Summits Complementary. So they are, Iraq is talking about this. Foreign Minister Fawad Hussein affirms on Wednesday that Iraq welcomes the U.S. President visit to Saudi Arabia while announcing that Iraq will chair 3 summits. He noted tremendous efforts to organize the Baghdad Development Summit. It says, we are pleased that the Trump's visit to the region and the understandings reached, and we are pleased with the lifting of sanctions with the Syrian people. So it's interesting that the Syrians just are getting sanctions lifted, however long that takes, but they're pretty excited there. But the interesting thing is, will that happen in Iran? And that's on the table as well as we speak. So we'll find out. He goes on and says the participation of leaders and officials in these exceptional circumstances in the region are experiencing and demonstrating the unity of Arab leaders and about what? Their current situation and the support for Baghdad's investment renaissance. It says there's about 20 Arab organizations and federations that will participate in the summit, in addition to international organizations represented by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Secretary General of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation, President of the African Union, Representative of the European Union. A guest of honor will be the Spanish Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez. So, and there's going to be about 250 Arab and foreign journalists who are going to be there covering it. So all of this is really going to be a pretty big deal. Looks like there are going to be 2 sessions next Saturday, and they'll be talking about, well, they'll begin in the morning in the councils, there'll be a second one in the afternoon, and they're going to be giving decisions, because they've had other meetings that preceded this, they had preparatory meetings that preceded this, and some of those decisions that were by the ministries are going to be talked about, because they've made decisions, and so they're going to be going over what those decisions are and what they were about. And here, at the same time that those things were happening in the last couple of days, through the 11th to the 14th. Today's the 15th. It says 46 business leaders participated in the Investment Summit in Washington, here in the United States. So it says the delegation of 46 business leaders from Iraq, including the Kurdistan region, arrived in the United States to participate in the annual Select USA Investment Summit, which was held in Washington, D.C., and that was again through May 11th through the 14th. It says the delegation included a variety of sectors, including technology, cybersecurity, tourism, hospitality, food and beverage, franchising, agriculture, construction, investment, pharmaceuticals, real estate, oil and gas. I mean, that's a pretty big list of investment, right? And he's explaining that there's a wide variety of opportunities that aim to promote cooperation and investment between the United States and Iraq. So the summit is complimentary. It's unbelievable. It's fascinating. So that's another interesting article that we're seeing happen. And this next few that are just as powerful. And there's, again, in Patreon, you guys, there's a lot more that I cannot even get to in a brief video. And I don't know if it's going to be that brief. So here it says, the United States signs historic deals with Qatar with over $1 trillion. Qatar is a trading partner. The UAE is a trading partner. Saudi Arabia, $600 billion. So anyway, it says here that the United States says that this Gulf tour could raise $4 trillion. And that's coming from the Middle East. So it says the United States president, the Gulf tour yielded or yields worth about $4 trillion during a meeting with a businessman in Doha on Thursday. So that's what they were talking about. And he basically says, quote, the president says, you've never seen a round raise between 3.5 and 4 trillion in just 4 days. So obviously the impact of this, these meetings for this last week going through Saturday are massive. It says, this gentleman says, his name's Tamim. It says the importance of achieving peace in the region is really on their table. It says our president here in the United States, it says this regard, he says, expressing his hope that these shared aspirations will be achieved. Because he's talking about peace. And I think that some of the neighbors, we have the Syrians getting the sanctions lifted. And we have the neighbor, Iran, working towards the same goals, we hope. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens. They've had their 4th round of talks. Now they haven't given a date for their 5th round. But ultimately, al-Sudani is going to be, or, you know, let's put it this way. The United States and Iran and Iraq are going to have meetings about the negotiations. That's as simple as I can put it. And that's in print. It says the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani confirms on Thursday that Iraq is following U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including bilateral meetings with the Gulf Cooperation Council. And he stresses that the importance of this visit under the current circumstances is highly important. He says that al-Sudani says it's possible that we will have an impact on some issues, and we are following its developments. It says the region represents the lungs of the world in the field of energy, and they are promising projects for economic integration, a foremost among which is the Development Road Project, which is a strategic economic corridor proposed by Iraq. It says, regarding the U.S.-Iran negotiations, the Iraqi Prime Minister revealed that Baghdad will host negotiating sessions. So I wasn't just making it up. Negotiating sessions between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. And it goes on and says, as part of Iraq's ongoing efforts to revive dialogue on the Iranian nuclear issue, he emphasized that the negotiation is the best way to prevent escalation and ensure regional stability. He stresses that the government has already taken the initiative to organize meetings between the two parties in the capital of Baghdad. Interestingly enough, there's an article that's talking about Syria and that there might be some surprises at this summit in Baghdad on the 17th. And you have to think, well, could this be one of those surprises? Could it be a lot of things? Sure. He adds that reaching an agreement on the nuclear issue would end the escalation and contribute to regional stability. He goes on and says one of the advantages, or a unique advantage among the countries of the region, if this happens, is it can play the role of an honest mediator. That means that if al-Sudani is successful, it can play the role of an honest mediator between conflicting countries. The most important role any country can play is Iraq's as an honest mediator between conflicting countries that have problems or differing views. He says we have good relations. I think he's talking about between the United States and Iran, and we believe in non-interference in internal affairs and respect the sovereignty of states. And these principles qualify us, which is Iraq, to play this role. So I don't know if you guys think about it, but that's pretty powerful. Okay, there's been meetings directly noted today with Khani. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce his name, but he's a military leader, and he's on the security level of Iran. And basically, what is it that these guys are going to be talking about? Well, read the article from Khani, and you'll see that he's working with Iraq as trade partners, because Iraq and Iran are very big trade partners, and they have talk about specifically having negotiations and making sure that their side of the story is communicated to the United States. So that's just interesting, timing. Is it coincidence? I don't think it is. So anyway, but here's the president of Iraq. His name is Rashid. He says he's very happy about the lifting of sanctions on Syria, and he's ready to help in the Iranian-American negotiations as well. Rashid says in a press statement that he is very happy about the lifting of sanctions on Syria by the U.S. He goes on and says, we support the ongoing negotiations between Iran and the United States, and we are ready to provide any assistance in these negotiations. So that's very big. You got al-Sudani, you got the president, Rashid, you got Khani coming over yesterday to Iraq to have talks with the country of Iraq, and maybe specific political groups. I think it was the coordination framework. They were having one-on-one, but the bottom line is that they need communication on what's going on. So the Iraq Foreign Ministry, here's my last article. It's more than half of the leaders will attend the Baghdad Summit. It's not going to be all of the Arab League, but hey, they're making a big effort. I think that they're going to tell you that they have enough people. I think there's about 20 countries involved. I think there's a total of 29, but they have well over half, and I think they're satisfied with that. It says the attendance of Arab presidents and leaders at the summit will be more than half, noting that among the most prominent participants are the Egyptian president, the king of Jordan, the king of Bahrain, the Palestinian president, and the Yemeni president, in addition to presidents from other Arab countries. And it says that earlier in the day, Mohammed Shia al-Sudani indicated that surprises were expected at the Arab Summit hosted by Baghdad, and also revealing that the Syrian president Hamad al-Shara had decided to represent his country through Foreign Minister Shia Abani. So at the end of the day, al-Sudani basically states that the level of attendance so far to the summit is acceptable, and it's customary, as many summits have been. That's a good thing. And he's expressing his hope that there will be attendance at higher levels and in large numbers, commensurate with the scale of events and the aspirations of the Arab people. So maybe they will have surprises. Maybe there'll be more people. We don't know. But the bottom line is, I think they're happy. They're moving forward. And they've been really getting predominantly really good press. I think I saw one article that was suggesting that people weren't happy. But is everybody going to be happy? I don't know about that. But okay, so it says on Thursday morning, the preparatory meeting at the Arab League Council's foreign ministers for the 34th regular session was held in Baghdad. And then obviously they talk about the Arab Summit is next Saturday. And remember, when I talked about those decisions, they came from the 34th regular session that was held in Baghdad. So all of these things that I just talked about are really pretty powerful, and there's more that I didn't quite get to, but understand that I can't just go over every single article, but I do the best that I can. What I believe is impactful is that the trade deals, upward of $4 trillion. We're talking about natural resources. We're talking about trade, global partners, and we're talking about doing it in a manner that is really going to benefit a lot of people around the world. And then you have to ask yourself, well, why is it now that all of a sudden all these countries are willing to put up that kind of money? Now remember, our crew member, he's always been quoted as all boats rise with the tide. I don't know about you guys, but if you think about it, the Arab League has currency values, and we see that the United States is talking about currency manipulation. I'm not saying they're all currency manipulators, but when Iraq has a real effective exchange rate, all those trading partners that have foreign currencies, like the dinar, are probably going to get an adjustment. And I just posted an interesting piece in Patreon and in our Discord. Well, actually, it's in Discord. And it is a very lengthy report on currency resets. And are they old or are they new? Well, they've happened before, like during Bretton Woods. So think about that. But if all boats rise with the tide and all those currencies have more value to the United States dollar because they're adjusted accordingly based on their natural resources, which all of those countries have a lot of natural resources, Iraq inclusive, and if they all hold foreign currencies of each other's currencies, the valuations are going to go up. So in other words, they're going to be able to pay for those, that $4 trillion at a lot less in their terms of their currencies. In other words, they're going to be able to buy more dollars or pay back with less of theirs. It's actually a brilliant way of doing things, and that's why everybody's flocking in. Is because it's like it's like a lottery for them to some degree. So if you're going to buy 160 jets, 160 planes, you're going to do all these different things for military or for businesses and stuff, and you're going to invest in AI and all these things. But if your currency goes up and you're going to do it in dollar terms, it costs them less Rial, for instance, or less Jordanian dinar, or less Iraqi dinar to pay off all that stuff. Keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you for being with us. I hope I explained that well enough, and if I didn't, forgive me. But the cool part is that I appreciate everybody here, and if you still like my content, hey, hit that subscribe button. And once again, thank you for everybody using those PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo are awesome, and I always appreciate that. Thank you from all of Militiaman and Crew.
Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.